Okay, and I am recording now. So today, again, what we're looking at is how we can do layered landscape materials. We could use just base colors if we wanted to, but I did want to show you today how to do it with some different textures, as that's probably how you're going to want to do this. So what I would suggest that you do, just for the purpose of this, is you can just go ahead and go online and just search for tileable, or maybe even seamless is a better word, seamless grass texture. I mean, it doesn't have to be grass, but whatever type of surface you want. So you can do like a seamless grass texture. And basically what you're looking for is a grass texture that's designed to be repeated. So they can be put side by side and repeated over and over again without the scenes being super obvious. Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys in one of your classes were taught about kind of creating tileable textures? You can just say yes, no, I'm okay with the one. I'm just trying to figure out how many of you know what tileable textures are and how many of them you don't. Okay. 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 And that's okay right now. There is a process for making tileable textures. We're not going to cover that in this class. If you really are curious, you can just Google how to make seamless textures in Photoshop, and you can just create videos. I mean, there's definitely several videos on how to create seamless textures. So if it's something you're interested in doing, I would encourage you just to kind of watch a couple videos, and you should be able to figure it out pretty easily. Most of you guys are pretty competent Photoshop folks, so I don't think this will be an issue, but this is a good place to start. But again, probably for your environment, you're probably going to want at least 2 or 3 different textures to start from. But again, for our purposes, we're going to download 3 images. So I've already downloaded 3, and they're not good images, just to be clear. The ones I downloaded were kind of crappy, but it'll still work for the purpose. Again, so I would just suggest downloading a grass texture, maybe doing a seamless dirt texture or something like that. So you can just get like a seamless dirt, and then maybe like a rock or something more interesting. I actually got lava just because I thought it would be fun to do. So the 3 textures I've downloaded are actually, I'll show you here. I downloaded these 3 images. I have a grass tileable. Okay, and again, these are really bad ones. I have this is actually a kind of a dirty concrete, and this is supposed to be lava. And the little the test one I just did showed that they're pretty terrible. They don't tile very well. So these are not good examples, but you'll kind of see what I mean when we get started here. Okay. Okay. So we've got 3 textures. I'm going to go ahead and go into Unreal Engine 4. And I can always use the import button, but I'm just going to drag them in this time just to show that approach. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to Assets. I'm in my Assets folder. I'm just going to select these 3 textures, and I'm just going to drag them straight in. Okay. I just want to point out again, these are textures, not materials. Textures cannot be assigned directly to 3-dimensional objects. Materials can. So if you ever try to just drag a texture right onto your model of a tank or whatever, it's not going to work, because you have to, only materials can be applied to 3-dimensional surfaces, not textures directly. So, and I probably should move these out of the way so you're not seeing my. Anyways, okay, so now that we've got this going here, let's go ahead and continue on. We've got our 3 textures in here. We're going to go ahead and create a new material. And this new material is going to be called our landscape material, MAT. Okay. And this landscape material is going to take these 3 other textures we have and combine them into kind of create our environment. That probably won't make sense yet, but hopefully it will after we get going here a little bit. We're going to go ahead and go into the landscape material. I'm going to right click, and what we want to do is go ahead and type in, man, I'm trying to, layer blend. And then I have to scroll all the way to the top here because what I'm really looking for is the landscape layer blend here under the landscape menu area. Okay. And when you first pull this in, this isn't going to have any inputs on it, which you probably aren't. That doesn't surprise you right now because one, you haven't seen this before, and two, you don't see anything that we need to plug into it. But what we want to do now is go ahead and pull in our textures. So I've got this grass texture. Oops. By the way, I'm just right-clicking to pan this and then zooming in and out with scroll. I'm going to go ahead and grab grass texture, my dirty concrete, and my tiled lava. Okay. And now that I've done that, again, this is where we actually want to plug these into this layer blend. So if we click on this layer blend, we're going to go ahead and add 3 elements to this. Okay. And so now you can see there's now 3 pins here that we can connect to. And we're just going to connect our 3 pins. We're going to connect our texture, our grass texture, our concrete texture, and our lava texture. And then we're going to plug this layer blend actually into our base color. And so again, the base color of our material will be based on these 3 textures. But there's obviously more to it than that. We're also going to go ahead and select this, and we're going to go ahead and just zero out a couple of these values. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in constant. And I'm going to go ahead and plug that into metallic and specular. And so metallic basically controls how metal-like your surface looks, but really what that means is it's kind of how reflective it is. So think about chrome. How if you go back and put your face behind a polished chrome bumper, how you can see your face in it. If you crank up the metallic feature, you'll get a feature like that, where it actually seems to reflect. It's almost like a mirror. And then specular has to do with the way the highlights work. And while if you're looking at, like, dewy grass in the morning, they can be somewhat specular. For now, our purposes, for what we're doing right now, it's probably easier just to keep the specular down on 0. So again, we can bring in custom maps for these as well. Okay, so I see from Kirsten, she said, how did you do that? Sorry, which part were you having trouble with? Or which part were you asking about? Nope, no worries. Okay, so we've got these set up here. I'm going to expand these out. So I've selected the layer blend. I'm going to expand these out. There's a few changes we need to make here. So we plug these into the layer blend, but we also need to change our blend type from weight to alpha blend on all of them. And then we'll give them each of them a name. So this is our pen. You can see this is pen 0, pen 1, pen 2, and so this is our grass, stone, and lava. So I can plug that in here. So I'll just type in layer names of grass. It's not stone, it's concrete, and lava for mine. And last but not least, you can see that this is all black here. If you want to have a preview for this, you just have to set your preview weight to 1 on all of these, and you'll at least be able to see the preview in here. Okay, so we just did kind of a bunch of little steps here, but we now do have a material that has access to all 3 of these textures. And at this point, it's probably confusing to you, but we're about to be able to do some kind of cool stuff with this. If we want to see this applied to our object, we do need to either save or apply. Apply just changes the way. This would affect the object in the world if we hit apply. Save changes the object in the world, but it also saves your file. I'm just going to go ahead and hit save, so it takes care of both at the same time. Okay, and we'll be coming back in here. But now we're going to come in here into the world, and we want to apply this landscape material to everything. I feel like I should mention now, just because I feel like we had some disconnects, and I haven't looked to see who's missing, but just so you know, this particular part will be on your practical exam, so if anybody did leave right now, they're going to wish they hadn't. So that's just kind of an FYI. I just realized a lot of things we're covering in these videos will be on the practical exam, and so even if you don't need it for your game project, you need to know it for that. Yeah, so I just created a constant going back, and I wish this would stop. Just going back into the landscape material, I created a constant by just right-clicking and typing in constant, and then I just plug in a value of 0. A constant, default constant, is just a value between 0 and 1, and you can obviously have 2, 3, and 4 vectors. So 3 vectors would be like RGB. 4 vectors, you could use the 4th value for an alpha channel if you wanted to, or something else. Okay, so now I've done this, let's go ahead and select our landscape. So this is my landscape we selected. I haven't really changed it. You've just seen me. I mean, it's fun for cruising around. I haven't done anything special with it. But over here on the right side, we have this landscape material area, and you can see that we've set it to grass_matte, which was our just a solid color, but now we want to go ahead and apply our landscape material right here. So I'm going to apply it. It's going to take a second to recompile everything. Okay. And right now it's just applying that solid color. Okay. And actually yours may be blacked out. I did go through this process before and I used the same name, so it may actually be pulling on a few of those things. I bet it is because I actually still have these layers that were created from before. So I kind of shortcutted this a little bit. Let me just delete that. This might screw it up. We'll see what happens. I may just really blow this up here. So yours will probably come in looking black. I'm not sure. But anyways, when you select your landscape, you're going to go up here to modes, open up the landscape tools as we've done before. And then you're going to want to go ahead and, up till now, all we've mostly used is sculpt. So we've been using the sculpting tools to sculpt our terrain. We could use, remember we used the sculpting tool to just add hills and all this cool stuff. But the other tab here has a button for paint. And in this paint area, we want to go in here where it says like into each one of these. And we need to click this little plus sign, and we want to add a weight blended layer. And that's the reason why mine worked out the first time is because I'd already gone through this. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, grass layer. And then I'll go through and do the concrete layer once it gets finished with that. Hopefully I don't crash my machine since I just deleted these files. Now I'm trying to re-add them. Okay. I'm just using the default name. And you can see it's pulling by name from the way I named the objects. So that's part of the reason why we named it before. It's okay just leaving the default directory it wants to go into. Okay. I now have these 3 layers, and hopefully this is going to work. I may have screwed it up with what I just did a second ago, but I should now be able to click the layer I want to paint. So if I want to see concrete on here, I can just select that layer, and I can resize by using the right and left brackets. So if you're not sure what I mean by that, if you look at your backspace key on your keyboard, and you go down 1, you're going to have backspace, but then to the left of that, there's 2 buttons that are left and right brackets. And right bracket makes it bigger, left bracket makes it smaller. Anyways, and you can go in here and then just click and drag, and you can paint this on there. Okay, so I just painted the concrete. Maybe I want some lava. Paint some lava in there. The first time you draw it, what you just saw there will happen. Okay. And with this, you can kind of create some interesting paths. Again, I have kind of concrete and grass. The grass isn't terrible, but it kind of depends on what you're doing. So this could be a road. It could be some sort of a concrete road, I guess. But anyways, if you're doing a racing game or a game where, especially if you're doing like some sort of game where you're out in the country and you're driving on a farm road, this would be a great way to do it. Is just kind of paint it. You could actually paint right on the surface if you wanted to. Okay. Now, when we talked about creating tileable textures, what we talk about is creating textures that repeat seamlessly. And when you look at these textures, these are not great examples of that. So you can see how when I look at it, I can notice that it's tiling. You see how these bright highlights really show up, and it just becomes very evident that it's tiling. Now, if you zoom out far enough from almost any tileable texture, you're going to go ahead and you're going to see some tiling. So the main thing is, how does it look when you're at kind of ground level, when you're looking at it the way you expect to look at it. But you can see even from this angle, this grass and stone is pretty bad. So these are not great tileable textures. But again, tileable textures are textures that are meant to be repeated over and over again to create the illusion of, you know, great things like grass and stone and all this stuff. But there are some tricks we can do to kind of make this a little bit better. So the biggest issue we're having here is this is repeating a ton. So you can see right here, just in my little eyesight range, I can see this repeating 1, 2, 3, 4 times. You know, this in front of my eyes here, I'm seeing this repeat across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So there's just a lot repeating here. One way to address that is actually just to scale up the UVs so that our materials at least don't repeat as many times, and it'll be a little bit less obvious. So let's look at how we can do that now. So I'm going to go in here and go back to my assets folder, and I'll reopen that landscape material. And now we're going to go ahead and we are going to add our, let's see if I can remember what it's called. I may have to look it up. Oh, there it is. I think it's landscape layer coordinates. Okay. And we're going to need one of these for each of them. So I'm going to do this. I'll just Control C, Control V. I'm copying and pasting 3 of these. Okay. And again, if you want them to be larger, again, so basically if the issue you're having is it's tiling too many times, you can upscale it. So if I select this coordinate, let's just try, we're going to go, I'm going to go with mapping scale, and I'm going to say 5. We'll do 5 on all of them. Let's just crank them all up by 5. And they will repeat less times, but they will be scaled up as well. And you'll see what that means as soon as I kind of hit save and go in there and take a look. But sometimes just, you know, if you've got a decent, if you did a good job on your tileable texture, and you think it should be tiling well, but it's still noticeably repeating, part of the reason may just be it's just repeating too many times. And so you can look at it now, you can see I scaled it up. You can see just by scaling that, I mean, it made a huge difference, okay? Now, if I get up here like this, I can still see it's tiling. If I get further back, so this is still not the best tileable texture in the world, but at this scale, it's a lot better. I mean, it's doable. You know what I mean? It's a game I would play now. But you can see again, I've got some lava now. I've got some stone, and just having this textured surface on here definitely transforms the entire thing. I'd need a little more details, Kirsten, to help you, but once we get on with the lecture, I'd be happy to take a look. But again, I mean, this is how you do it. I guess I have the other. Let's go back in here to my. Well, close this. Going back into my landscape mode, and I'll go into paint. Keep in mind you can use. Oh, that looks pretty good. Okay. I'm going to grab this concrete and point out that a lot of times you're going to want to put materials on certain surfaces where, well, I'll go to sculpting mode for a second here. I'll just give you an example here. So I'm going to go ahead and make kind of a steep area. Okay. Make a nice little steep peak area here, okay? And for an area like this to form, normally it wouldn't, right? Because this was a road as rain hits it and stuff. But in an area like this, it could happen, I guess, if this was mostly rock, basically. So in a case like this, if you're going to have a really steep area like this, there's a good chance you may also want to use concrete on it. And then so you can just kind of paint. I mean, this is concrete, but you probably want to use stone or something. And I don't know why it's not letting me go any smaller than this. It must have. There we go. You might want to put rock around here because it might, you know, kind of help explain basically why this steep area is even able to exist, and that's probably because it's mostly stone. So obviously, again, it couldn't easily erode. Okay. So again, that's just kind of an example of how we can apply multiple materials to this, and you can use it. I don't know, I think about maybe about half of you guys are either using terrain or thinking about using terrain. But if you're planning on using it, you're going to want to explore the material side of things. I wouldn't go crazy with the number of textures you get, but try to get, anywhere from 3 to 5 good quality textures. So, I mean, again, I'd rather see you have 3 good ones and use them well than you having 5 and they're all kind of garbage, because you can see the quality makes a difference. Again, the grass here, because it's repeating so much, it looks pretty bad. And this is at a decent scale, so you're not going to want to scale it up too much more. This concrete isn't horrible, or at least not the way I'm using it. If I was applying it to the whole map, it would probably become pretty evident, but it's not doing too bad for this purpose. So this is this is what I wanted to show you today. So today we covered how to do the materials. On Wednesday, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you guys how to bring in an exterior. I'm going to talk about kind of how you need to how you need to work in Maya and then take it over here to Unreal Engine 4. I'm going to show you just by basically doing an export, where I export a truck model from Maya into here, and then we'll hook it up to our car, so that basically come Wednesday, we'll be cruising around and we'll have the wheels like we do now, but they'll be on a truck, an actual truck body with the this cube we've been seeing the whole time invisible. So it starts to finally feel more like a car we're driving around, as opposed to this weird wheeled box. So anyways, is there any immediate questions right now related to doing layered materials or tileable textures or anything kind of in that sort? If you can find some good tileable textures out there, I'm okay with you using other people's for your games. I'm not real psyched about it, but I'm worried about time. And just make sure, again, just like with everything else, you give credit if it's not an open source type of thing. Some of them do. There are a few places that give away certain types of textures, so you might be able to find a free grass one or something. But make sure a lot of them do want you to give credit at least, so make sure you do give credit. And what I'd like to see, what would be a great experience for all of you guys, is if you have time, would be to go ahead and just make a few of them. Do a grass texture or a snow texture, or whatever it is that your game needs, basically. So, okay, that's today's lecture. Again, yeah, we can deal with that. I mean, at a certain point, I'm probably gonna have to figure out what people need. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of topics. We're just gonna keep trying to do topics every day. So I'll try to keep them under half an hour like we did today. But each day we're just gonna cover something new. So we've got to import models. I need to show you how to do. I'll probably show you how to do checkpoint systems. I'll probably show you how to have an enemy that follows a path. Like if you want to have an enemy AI that just will at least follow the road, basically, I guess. If you want to do a racing game. What are some other interests? I guess what are some things that you guys want to know? I'm going to stop the video because you guys don't need to have this on here, but